Let's discuss the closing and funding process. And this will be kind of a big overview, and I'll give you some links down below to some of the more details if you want to know about each piece. But you're buying a home or you're refinancing a home. Those are going to be slightly different processes. I mean, fundamentally they're the same, but let's talk about them. So first and foremost, at this point, when you go to closing, hopefully you've already seen what's called the final CD, closing disclosure. If you've not seen it, that's okay. It's not the end of the world. But the closing disclosure, it tells you exactly to the penny what amount's going to be due at closing. So if you've received it in advance, that's awesome. That's pretty typical that you'll get it in advance. There are some rare instances where it's a quick close or something got changed at the end or whatever, where that may not be something that's readily available. But ultimately, you should by now hopefully know what you're going to owe to the title or escrow or attorney's office, whatever you want to call it. Every state calls them something different. So whether it's an attorney's office, title company, escrow company, just know they're all the same. But you're going to owe some dollar amount. So what you need to do, and ideally before you go in, you don't have to, again, I'm just telling you, but in a perfect world, already reach out to the title company and ask, how do they want the money? Do they want you to wire the funds to them? Do they want you to get a certified funds check or a cashier's check or whatever that may be? So call the title company in advance, if possible, to figure out how they want those funds. Most don't care. Some are very particular. Some only want wires. Some only want cashier's checks. So figure that out, what they need or want, and figure that out. So now let's pretend the numbers are all set. You've seen the initial CD. You've now seen the final CD. Hopefully they're pretty close, but now you know the number. You're going to go into close, what to expect. So whether it's a refi or purchase, the process itself typically takes about 45 minutes. It can be very much shorter than that if somebody flies through it and doesn't read a whole bunch, or they already know what they're doing. It can take longer if you got somebody that wants to sit there and read all the documents. But I would say, generically speaking, you're usually in and out in less than an hour. There are things that are like electronic. There are some loans and some processes that allow you to do electronic closings where you sign, or a hybrid where maybe you sign some, but you then get to e-sign a bunch of others. Whatever it is, it's all the same documents, right? So call it, I don't know, 75 to 125 different pages of just stuff you have to sign. And once you've gone through that process, let's say it takes that 45 minutes, it's now on a purchase and or refinance when it's a second home or investment property. So a refinance that is not your primary home. It now goes to funding. So in other words, paperwork gets signed. And in Texas, this happens the same day. You sign your paperwork, title company sends everything back to the lender. We just look at it to make sure all the important ones were signed. Check, check, check. We're done. And at that point, we give then like the magic code that says, hey, here's the code to go get the money that's out there. That's pretty typical. There are some states where maybe you sign a day or two or many days beforehand, and the funding then takes place later. But for Texas, it's going to be, you go in, you sign your docs, and then you'll fund typically within a few business hours. Truthfully, it could be as quick as 30 minutes if everybody's talking to each other. But the reality is it can typically take about an hour to 3 hours after signing all the paperwork and get that back. And the reason why I said it's the exemption, or not the exception, rather, sorry. The exception is when you're refinancing your primary home. When you refinance a primary home, there's a 3-day right of rescission before it'll fund. So if you sign your closing docs on a Monday for a refinance of your primary home, it won't actually fund until Friday. So that's just law. That's the way it has to be. It is what it is. But for the most part, they're all going to close that same day. So again, once it closes, again, purchases or refinances of investment properties or second homes, then it's going to fund within a few minutes, if not hours, right after that. So something also to note, when it comes to new construction, there are builders out there that are going to say that they need the actual funds before you take possession. So if you're buying from Joe Homeowner, when the title company receives the fund from the lender, the title company will be the one that says like, hey, congratulations, everybody, it's official, right? Then at that point, you get the keys, you sing Kumbaya, all that fun stuff. You get to go move in. With home builders, there are instances where even though the title company says, hey, you're good, we got the funds, the home builders may require that those funds then get wired from title company to their account before they allow you to move into the home. So check with title for what that, what that looks like, or check with the builder to see how that works, because you can have an instance where somebody closes at lunchtime. The fund, then funds with the title company at, say 2:30. And by the time the title company sends their money and wire to the builder, then the wire cutoff has already expired and they can't wire till the funds until the next day, which means you can't move in. So be sure to check with your home builder. I'm not seeing that on existing homes, but that is something to at least pay attention to. And again, the process will take about an hour. Everybody does need to be there that's on the note and that wants to be on title. If there is somebody that cannot physically be there, make sure you've already in advance talk to your lender, talk to us, right? Talk to your lender, and then also talk to the title company, because there is a official power of attorney that needs to be made for that transaction. A general power of attorney will not work. So all that's to say, closing, it takes place once the final CD is ready. Once you got the clear to close, all that stuff, you go close. And then every once in a while, it's like 1 in 100. It's not very often. Every once in a while, there may be some like prior to funding condition that needs to be confirmed. So check with your lender, but it's very rare. But once you go into close, sign all your paperwork, and then about, I'm going to say generically speaking, 1 to 3 hours later, title company is going to call you or send you an email saying, congratulations, it's official. And as far as taking possession of the home and how to get the keys, that's just going to vary by each transaction. Sometimes if it's like, say, new construction, you got to go meet the builder or the community sales manager. If it's an existing home, your realtor might have the keys, the title company might have the keys. They might leave the keys and garage door opener at the house. So all that's going to vary. That check with your real estate professional or check with the title company on how that's going to work as far as possession. As a lender, we have no idea. It's not our thing. But hopefully that gives you some understanding of what to do from a closing and funding perspective. Certainly, if you have any questions, call us. Hopefully, we've already kind of given you a heads up of what to expect if you're working with us already. And if not, just know that we will take very good care of you. As always, we appreciate you watching. And if you do have any questions, reach out to the Mortgage Mark team, because when you think mortgage, think Mark.